Hello, my students, my fourth year students. Good evening and welcome to Mdrسة. To be continued. Of course, the second part in modal verbs lesson. So today's lesson, we are going to see modal verbs, the second part. What is the second part of modal verbs and what this modal verb express? Let's see together. We have obligation. And of course, before, the previous lesson was about ability. So today's lesson is about obligation. Let's see together the form and in which tenses we are going to form this obligation. And what is the modal verb that express obligation? First point, or firstly, we have obligation in the present. Of course, with the same points that we have seen in ability, we are going to see the same points, but here in obligation. So let's see together what is the modal verb. Obligation in the present, positive form, affirmative form. The form is subject plus must plus infinitive. You see here, we have the modal verb that express obligation is must. It's used for obligation and necessity. Must. So the form in positive is subject plus must plus infinitive. The second point, we are going to see the form of positive or the form of obligation in positive. What is the verb that equal must? Subject plus have or has to plus infinitive. You see here, I will explain. Subject plus must plus infinitive. Must express obligation. Have to or has to also express obligation. What is the difference here? Here, must, it is for obligation. It means someone obliged you, is obliged you to do something. But here, have to or has to, it's also for obligation, but concerning laws. It's concerning laws. It means the government asked you to do this thing. Must, have to, or has to. Negative form. Subject plus must not plus infinitive. You see here, negative form. Subject plus must not plus infinitive. The second modal verb in negative form is subject do or does not. It means do not or does not plus have to plus infinitive. What do you remember about do and does? Of course, present simple, yes. We ask with do and does and we put negative form with don't and doesn't. Don't with I, you, we, they. Does not with he, she, and it. So here, must not, do or does not. Both express obligation. Third point, it is question. Yes and no question with must. We always start with must. Yes and no question. This is the form. Must plus subject plus infinitive, the rest of the sentence and question mark. We have with have to, we always ask with do and does, as in simple present. Do, does, plus subject, plus have to, plus infinitive, the rest of the sentence and question mark. We have the second kind, we have the second type of question, which is the WH question. WH question. The form is question word. Of course, we have explained before many times what are these question words. I repeat, what, when, where, who, why, how, plus must, plus subject, plus infinitive, the rest of the sentence and question mark. Next, question word, the same thing, plus do or does. Do or does, plus subject, plus have to, infinitive, have to, plus infinitive, the rest of the sentence, and question mark. We will see together some examples concerning this case. Examples, we have, of course, positive form. She must pass the exam. You see here, she must pass the exam. And here, she has to pass the exam. Both express obligation. Both modal verbs express obligation. But here we can see she must pass the exam, only maybe in meaning. She must pass the exam. Here it means maybe your parents asked you to pass the exam. Your parents obliged you to pass the exam. It means we say she must pass the exam. But look at the second sentence. She has to pass the exam. Yes, this sentence also expresses obligation. But here, maybe the government asked you, is obliged you to pass the exam. She has to pass the exam. The second, she must not smoke in the hospital. You see here? She mustn't or she must not smoke in the hospital. She doesn't have to smoke in the hospital. Yes, both express obligation, but in negative. The third point concerning question, yes and no question. We always start with must. Must, subject, infinitive. The rest of the sentence and question mark. We will say, must she pass the exam? Must she pass the exam? Or does she have to pass the exam? Does she have to pass the exam? The last point with WH question. The question word that we have to choose is where. Where must she pass the exam? The question word plus must plus subject plus infinitive, the rest of the sentence, question mark. Where must she pass the exam? Or we can say for obligation, where does she have to pass the exam? So they have the same meaning. After these examples, in case, of course, in obligation, present simple, we are going to see the second tense. It means obligation in the past or past obligation. Obligation in the past. Let's see together the form. Positive. Subjects plus had to. You see here, subject plus had to plus infinitive. Subject plus had to plus infinitive. So it means we don't have another verb that equal obligation in the past. Means the past simple of must is had to. There is no other verb in the past. We use had to. Had to is the past simple of must. Subject plus had to plus infinitive. This in positive form. Negative form. Subject plus did not plus have to plus infinitive. Of course, in the past simple, we always ask with did or negative form did not. So the same thing here. Had to is considered as a verb. So when we form had to in the negative form, subject did not have to plus infinitive. Question, the same thing. We have yes and no question. We ask with did. Did plus subject plus have to plus infinitive, the rest of the sentence, and question mark. This is concerning yes and no question. We always ask with did plus subject plus have to, infinitive, question mark. The second part, WH question, the question word plus did plus subject plus have to plus infinitive, the rest of the sentence, and question mark. We always ask with did. Here only we put question word in the beginning or at the beginning of the sentence. Let's see together some example concerning past obligation. She had to pass the exam. This is obligation in the past. She had to pass the exam. Of course, Don't forget to. We cannot say she had pass. No, we have to say she had to pass. To. She had to pass the exam. Negative. She did not have to smoke in the hospital. She did not have to smoke in the hospital. Past obligation. Question. Did she have to pass the exam? Did she have to pass the exam? We have here question with did. Yes and no question. WH. Where did she have to pass the exam? Where did subject have to infinitive, the rest of the sentence, and question mark. It means, where did she have to pass the exam? The third point concerning future obligation. Obligation in the future. The form A positive. The same thing here. The form is subject or the personal pronouns. I, you, we, they, he, she, it. Name of person, name of animal. Subject plus will have to. Will have to. I repeat, we don't forget to. We cannot say will have plus infinitive. No. To express obligation, we have to add to. Subject will have to plus infinitive. Negative form. Subject plus will not have to. Subject plus will not have to plus infinitive. Question. We have yes and no question. The same thing. We always start in yes and no question. We always start with will. So the form will be will plus subject plus have to plus infinitive, the rest of the sentence, and question mark. WH question, of course. All the question words, question word plus will plus subject plus have to plus infinitive, the rest of the sentence, and question mark. Of course, we will see together some example concerning obligation in the future. Example, positive form. She will have to pass the exam. She will have to pass the exam. Negative form. She will not have to smoke in the hospital. She will not have to smoke in the hospital. We have question, yes and no question. Will she have to pass the exam? Will she have to pass the exam? The last example. Where will she have to pass the exam? Where will she have to pass the exam? So with these examples, we have finished our lesson today. Thank you very much. Don't forget to visit our Facebook page, our website. Thank you, my students. See you next time with a new lesson. Goodbye.